Morning, should talk. Keep evolving. Coffee's on. Brew coffee before we get into the Sunday routine. Sunday routine, not the daily routine. I have different routines every day. I don't do the same thing every day at the same time, but I do same things within different days at different times, if that makes sense, based on probably what's happening in that day, how busy I'm going to be, what commitments I have, what responsibilities I have within that day. And I say within that day, I just like to live for today. Although I have plans and goals, I'm getting ready for a race. Hopefully it's going to be in July in Lanzarote. But if I break my day down into smaller chunks, it's more manageable for John, more manageable for me. And I was just reflecting this morning when I was making my coffee on, again, change. I've worked in the change field for a number of years. And what interests me is working with people and seeing that little shift when you're talking to them or when they're offloading their story. Because we're all talking stories. We all do it. Whether you go and see somebody in a therapeutic setting. We're all talking stories and we're always telling stories. And sometimes we can get lost within our stories because of the way that we process it. And what I mean by that is our experience of the world can be different to his or her experience of the world, because it's how we react to our thoughts, feelings, our wants, our desires, our needs. So my wants and desires and needs can be similar to somebody else, but it's not the same. And it's not the same in our experience of the world, if that makes sense. And the people that I work with, it's in and around wanting something different and finding it difficult to find that difference because of the record that we're playing, and we tend to play the same record, and it's that record what gives us our distress, our discomfort. And it's my job to probably slow that record down. You know, going back when we used to have records, and they're coming back in, aren't the records now? And you play a 45, and I can remember going into town on a Saturday, and I think it was called Fox's Music, and I used to go up there and I used to buy a single. I used to buy a single every week because, you know, the singles used to come out every week. There was the top 40, what used to be played on a Sunday on the radio. I can remember listening to that. So, depending on the record and what speed you play it, depends on then how you start to respond in your life. And I have a little concept about slowing the music down. So there's a 45, so you played it on speed 45. But if you learn to play it on a 33, you'll have a different experience to a 45. And I was working with a chap yesterday, and it was about slowing that mindset down, slowing it down. And once he learned to be able to slow that mindset down, it was away from his fears, it was away from his anxiety. And he felt different about himself. He had a different view on his life. He had a reframe, fetching the NLP into it. And then we started looking at modelling how other people deal with tricky situations, how other people deal with fears, how other people deal with bereavement and loss of loved ones, and how it affects them. How do other people get through similarities and get over the internal conflict? What are they doing? How are they processing it? And again, in NLP, this is called modelling great people. How are they good at that? What are they saying to themselves? What are they doing? What are they focusing on? How loud is it in their head? Is the volume high? Is it low? Are they seeing things in colour? Are they seeing things in black and white? And this is back to the stories that we start to tell ourselves and the stories that we start to tell other people in our lives. Because if you give time and attention to what you don't want, there's emotions and feelings connected to them. And you keep talking about what you don't want, what you don't want, what you don't want, what you don't want. You're going to experience that internally, and that can become uncomfortable. So if we focus on what we do want or what we'd rather have, you start to go into a different story. You might start to see it in black and white and not colour, or you might start to see it in colour or not black and white. And what I mean by that is, you might not think it, but we're all visual people. We sit and we daydream and we play these movies, all good and bad. And then we're responding to them movies. It's like when you're watching a scary movie on the telly, and for some they'll heart will start racing, you get a bit frightened, you like that, you don't want to look at the telly. But our movies are running in our minds all day, every day. And some people are in that place of where they're not aware of the movies what are running. They're just locked on to the feelings. They're not aware of the triggers, what are triggering them emotions and them feelings off, and them internal responses. But if you learn to start playing a 33 instead of a 45, going back to the record, and for some you might not know what a 45 is and going on to a 33 because of your age. Ask your mum and dad. If we learn to slow that part of ourselves down and not get involved in the entanglement of what we're playing, become a thought watcher, if you like. Life becomes different. Becomes a lot slower paced. It's more manageable. And with persistence over time of learning to slow the mind down, change arises. You have more choice. When we're in the high beta, we're in fight or flight. Fight or flight. Two choices. When you start to slow the mind down, you're actually coming into the resourceful part of the brain, which is your frontal lobes. You create more choice. And with persistence in time, you can learn that because it can be learned. It's a skill to be learned. We've all been in accessing the frontal part of our brain, in the resourceful part of ourselves, your frontal lobes. We just need to spend more time in there and have persistence with it. And through how life is and how we've responded to life, because of the choices that we've had, or things what have been done to us, it takes us to a different part of the brain. And if we've been in there for long periods of time, it can be difficult to break the chain. But with persistence, you can get back to how you truly are. I said last week, we have thousands of thoughts what come into our mind. We don't act upon them all the time. We run scenarios in our mind. We don't always act upon them. And if you're not acting upon them, you're controlling yourself. With persistence, you can release the resistance. You've just got to know how. Have a minute. Use your awareness. we've all got awareness. It's not something that we need to find. People just have a misconception of what awareness is. It's about me now being aware of the camera, talking to you. I've just been aware of my dog's just walked behind the camera. I can see 3 bikes here, another bike there, treadmill, peripheral vision's open. I'm aware I'm using my arms, I'm aware of my breath, all at the same time. I'm aware of what I'm saying, I'm aware that my tonality is dropping. I'm becoming quite still, quite calm. And yes, it's probably easy for me, because I've done it for 20 plus years. And it's how have I got to do this for 20 years before I create some change? No, change starts from now. Once you decide to do it, that's when you've started to change. And it's maintaining the change. And the most difficult thing about what I teach people is to have 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the day. What do I want to do well today in the morning? And on the evening, what's worked well within the day? And give time and attention to what works well and do more of what works well. But what do people do? They do it for a day, they do it for 2 days, they do it for 3 days. And they think, I've mastered it. But if you've got a behaviour for 20 years, you need more than 2 or 3 days of doing something different. Make it habitual. Make it the new you. Because the new you has got to be something different, day in, day out, to how you was previously. Any worries or concerns, I totally believe, by talking it through and finding some resolve, as difficult as it can be at times, we can get to where we want to get to. But we need to know where we want to get to. We need to know how we want to be. We need to know how we want to feel. Your feelings come from thoughts. So I feel, I want to feel like this is how I want to be. It's all to do with the conversations that you're having with yourself, the pictures, the scenarios you're running. Become a thought watcher. Because at the beginning, your thoughts is the place that you don't really want to be. And you know that by the way that you feel. Your emotions are a guiding system to exactly where you are at that time. If you don't like the way you feel, you can change that by playing a 33, slowing the record down, getting some disassociation there, being an observer of your thoughts, not entangled in your thoughts. There's loads of stuff out there now on what I'm talking about. Watch some tutorials on YouTube. Start the search. Because once you start watching one, they'll talk about something and you're like, oh, I'll look at this, then I'll look at that. If you're truly, truly committed to change, because there's only us who can change ourselves. People can come and see me. I can deliver my concept, which is evidence-based because I use it daily. The different courses I've been on, the training that I've had, all links into supporting people to change their mind of who they are, to become different. Shed Talk, just for today, interesting. I love working with people. People are super interesting.